Welcome back to another enlightening episode of Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom, where we explore the deep mysteries of health at the microscopic level, without getting too microscopic about it. I'm Ethan Foster, your unassuming guide to the world of weird and wonderful wellness facts.
And I'm Alara Sky, the comedic voice of reason with a sharp mind that occasionally pokes people in the ribs. Metaphorically, of course. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We have a fascinating topic today that's guaranteed to charge up your mood in more ways than one.
We're diving into the world of negative ions. You might wonder if negative ions are some sort of moody teenagers, or maybe online comment trolls. But hold that thought. They're far more delightful.
I can't speak for online trolls, but negative ions do give you a pleasant jolt of good vibes. Think of them like tiny airborne miracle workers that keep the air fresher, your brain clearer, and your spirits higher.
We've all heard about how a walk in the forest or a day at the beach can calm the mind. But it's not just about the scenery. There's actual chemistry involved, which is thrilling because who doesn't love a little chemistry in their day?
It's almost like nature has its own cosmic spa formula, negative ions. They're formed when molecules in the air gain extra electrons. Waterfalls, mountains, forests, and the ocean are hotbeds for these little guys. Since they're basically oxygen molecules that have picked up a negative charge, you could call them the underdogs of the air, small but powerful.
And speaking of powerful, let's talk about your usual beach vacation. People flock to the shoreline, thinking it's all about the margaritas and palm trees. But there's more to it than the latest romance novel and bucket of sunscreen.
Exactly. The Center for Conservation Biology found that 180 million Americans make 2 billion visits to beaches every year, way more than all the national and state park visits combined. I'd like to think it's partly because negative ions are beckoning us like, hey, come breathe us in. We've got the real fireworks over here.
You can definitely feel something special in that sea air. You might say it's nature's VIP lounge for mental rejuvenation. After one deep breath on the sand, you can practically feel your shoulders drop about 3 inches and your stress float away like an untethered beach umbrella.
It's not just in your head. Well, actually, it is in your head, in a good way. Scientists have found that negative air ionization can help counter symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, that lovely wintertime mood slump. A study by Michael Terman at Columbia University points to high-density negative ion exposure as a mood booster.
That's fascinating. So the next time you feel that gloom creeping in, you might want to sniff around a waterfall or crash a thunderstorm. Nothing brightens the day like a cozy lightning storm, right?
Precisely. Just be cautious where you stand if you do that. We want negative ions, not negative outcomes. But if you'd prefer a safer route than chasing thunderstorms, a trip to the seaside is a far more pleasant way to get that negative ion shot in the arm. Or nose, I guess.
And let's not forget the poet Ralph Waldo Emerson, who famously said, "Live in the sunshine, swim the sea, drink the wild air." Apparently, Emerson was giving us a negative ion prescription, although I doubt he realized his eloquent turn of phrase was scientifically on point.
Emerson was onto something. He believed nature wasn't just beautiful, but also a reflection of the divine.
That brings us to the idea of nature as a spiritual experience. Looking out over the ocean can feel like gazing into infinity. There's a sense of timelessness, a realization that the ocean was here before us and will likely be here long after we're gone.
Nothing like a cosmic existential moment to put everything into perspective. And it's not surprising people want to live near the coast. Salt in the air, sand in your shoes, sun on your skin. Who could resist? Though maybe avoid the sand in your sandwich.
Yes, let's keep the grit out of our diet for now. But it's true that people have an almost primal pull to the water. You see it all the time. And we now know it's partly because of these invisible negative ion mini-heroes floating around in sea spray.
Another prime spot for negative ions? Mountains. There's just something about that crisp mountain air. And while we're at it, let's add Greece into the conversation. It's famous for its beaches, but it also has mountainous regions rich in minerals like magnesium and calcium. That combination of ocean breezes and mineral-rich mountain air practically saturates every breath with negative ions.
When you think of ancient Greece, you think about philosophers and togas and dramatic myths, but apparently the real showstopper is the negative ion extravaganza. I suppose the oracle at Delphi might have been especially chipper if she was breathing in that extra dose of negativity, ionically speaking, of course.
Right? Delphi was considered the center of the world by ancient Greeks. I bet a big part of that spiritual energy folks felt was the mountain air, full of negative ions, plus all that magnesium from limestone. And you can't forget the bright sunlight, helping folks soak up vitamin D.
So, the next time you're feeling a mystical presence, maybe it's partly your body thanking you for the negative ions in the air. But let's not discount the intangible as well. Some places just have an atmosphere that can't be measured by any meter.
Absolutely. We can enjoy both scientific facts and the spiritual side of nature. Just because you understand how negative ions work doesn't make the awe any less real. In fact, it might deepen it.
Speaking of the invisible wonders, we should talk about your shower. Apparently, that place is bursting with negative ions. Something called the Lennard effect explains how the friction of fast-flowing water molecules creates electrons that attach to other molecules, forming negative ions.
Exactly. And here I thought my best shower thoughts were just random brilliance. Turns out maybe it's the negative ions at work, supercharging my mind while I'm belting show tunes.
Let's just hope the neighbors appreciate your newfound mental clarity. But you're right, all those shearing forces from the water swirl around you, boosting your mood as you rinse away your troubles. Who needs a fancy negative ion generator when you can hop in the shower?
Or if you really want to up the ante, maybe bring a waterfall into your bathroom. On second thought, that might be a bit of a plumbing challenge.
Unless you're a plumber with a flair for interior design. But yes, let's keep the waterfalls outdoors for now. There's also a neat tidbit about the actual formation of negative ions. Oxygen molecules in the air pick up that negative electrical charge, becoming O2-. Then moisture droplets envelop them, preserving their negativity until they latch onto something else.
I love how oxygen basically goes incognito, wearing a tiny water droplet disguise. It's like a microscopic superhero cape, making our air feel fresh and alive.
Indeed. And some studies describe that arrangement as superoxide, also known by its stage name, fresh air. So, whenever you smell that unique scent after a thunderstorm, that's the negative ions, saving the day.
You could say storms have a silver lining. Negative ions come storming in, clearing out the gunk in the air so we can breathe easier. Literally.
So, aside from breezy beaches, mighty mountains, and your morning shower, where else can we experience these negative ions?
Forests, definitely. You've got the natural interplay of trees releasing phytoncides, water evaporating, plus all the electrons swirling around. A forest walk is the ultimate multisensory experience. You breathe in fresh oxygen, you see lush greenery, and you get that negative ion bonus. A triple threat to stress.
And for those who can't get out into nature as often, there are ways to replicate some of the benefits at home, like opening your windows or even using certain air purifiers, though it might not be quite the same as standing on a cliff overlooking the Aegean Sea.
True, you can't quite bottle the ancient Greek vibes, but a healthy dose of fresh outdoor air can do wonders. Negative ions can help reduce the presence of unhealthy particles in the air. They basically cling to the bad stuff, weigh it down, and let gravity do the rest.
That's a fantastic mental image. Negative ions rounding up dust and pollen like tiny cosmic sheriffs. Meanwhile, you're just going about your day, inhaling a fresher supply of oxygen. It's a win-win for your lungs.
It is. And if negative ions aren't magical enough for you, let's talk about how they might affect your mood by regulating serotonin levels. Studies differ on how exactly they do this, but many people swear by the uplifting effect.
I'm a big believer in personal experience when it comes to mood. I don't need 100 studies telling me a day at the beach makes me feel lighter. But it's cool to see the science lines up with that.
Sometimes the best proof is the feeling you get when you're immersed in nature. Those intangible moments matter, like feeling that ancient energy in Delphi or that tingle of joy when you stand under a waterfall.
It's a humbling reminder that nature works on multiple levels, many of which we can't see with the naked eye. Negative ions might be invisible, but their impact is downright obvious if you pay attention.
And that's what cellular wisdom is all about, right? Understanding that the tiniest forces in our world, molecules, ions, electrons, can have these huge ripple effects on our health.
Exactly. Think about something as simple as your acid-base balance in the body. That's a behind-the-scenes system that can make or break how you feel. You can't see your pH level any more than you can see negative ions. But if it's off by a bit, your body sure notices.
Same goes for electrolytes like magnesium, sodium, and calcium. Another set of invisible heroes behind the scenes, doing the heavy lifting so we function properly. When they're out of whack, you really feel it.
So maybe the next time you walk along the beach or you're in the mountains, you can give a little nod of gratitude to these hidden factors. They keep our planet and our bodies running smoothly, whether we're aware of it or not.
The small stuff isn't always small. In the case of negative ions, these microscopic wonders can shift your entire emotional landscape. That's a power worth respecting.
And let's not forget water's role. Water is like the universal stage for these electrons to dance upon, whether it's in the ocean, a waterfall, or your shower head. If you think about it, water is the ultimate element that connects everything. Rain falls on mountains, flows to rivers, reaches the sea, evaporates, and repeats. During each of those steps, negative ions do their part.
It's the cycle of life, and a pretty neat show if you're paying attention. Our modern lifestyle sometimes distances us from nature, but the solutions are all around us. Just step outside, breathe in, and soak up some negativity, ionically speaking.
That might be the only time we'll ever advise people to soak up the negativity. But hey, in this case, it's good for you. Irony abounds.
Now, if you're looking for more practical ways to tap into that negative ion magic, open a window, go for a morning hike, or just linger a bit longer in that shower. Let those negative ions swirl around and do their thing.
And if you want to get philosophical, channel your inner Emerson. He suggested living in the sunshine, swimming the sea, and drinking the wild air. I'm not sure if Emerson had a lab coat hidden in his closet, but he clearly had an intuitive understanding of how nature nurtures us.
It's a timeless truth that our ancestors probably grasped in a more visceral way. They listen to nature more closely. Nowadays, we have all these devices, screens, and synthetic air fresheners. But real fresh air is an irreplaceable treasure, negative ions included.
It's an interesting twist on the phrase, stop and smell the roses. Maybe we should say, stop and let the negative ions wash over you. Doesn't have the same poetic ring, but it's scientifically accurate.
True, but it might not catch on as the next big t-shirt slogan. Still, the principle remains. People love shortcuts to health, yet some of the simplest methods, like breathing fresh, negatively charged air, are the ones we overlook.
It's easier than trying to memorize complicated diet regimens or track your macros. Just a breath of fresh air can bring tangible benefits. Granted, it won't replace all the other pillars of health, but it's a key piece of the puzzle.
Indeed. A sea breeze can uplift your mood, a conversation with a friend can lighten your heart, and a good night's sleep can recharge your body.
Well said. And in the end, maybe that's the real wisdom here. Pay attention to small details that make a big difference, whether they're molecules or moments of human connection.
I like that. It feels like a cosmic comedic finale to our discussion on negative ions. Embrace those small yet mighty elements of life, folks. You can't see them, but trust me, they're busy behind the scenes.
On that note, thanks for tuning in to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, encouraging everyone to find a waterfall, ocean, or even a good old-fashioned thunderstorm. Just maybe not up close with the lightning, and experience the negative ion rush.
And I'm Alara Sky, reminding you to stand tall in the sunlight, drink in that wild air, and let nature's microscopic miracles do their magic. Catch us next time for more intriguing insights into the hidden layers of health.
Until then, breathe well, stay curious, and remember, even the smallest spark of negativity can be a positive thing. When it's a negative ion, of course.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye, and keep those ions flowing.